Good morning. I'm calling the Municipal Service and Properties Committee to order. Today is Monday, November 10th, 2025. Madam Clerk, can you call the meeting? Can you call the roll?
Bishop.
Here.
Starr. Harrison. Here. Gray. Casey.
Present.
Kelly. Moore. Here. Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Can you excuse the absence of Councilman Starr? And Councilman Kelly should be joining us here shortly, but I'm not sure. Okay. All right. So first up, let me have Public Works up first, please. Good morning, Commissioners. Is the director joining us today?
The director is getting sworn in right now, so we are filling in for him.
Okay, all right. Okay, ordinance number 1351, 2025, by council members Bishop and Griffin. This is departmental request. It's emergency ordinance authorizing the procurement by one or more requirement contracts of the rental of large capacity trucks with operators for the Division of Streets, Department of Public Works, for a period of 1 year with two one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Works. Okay, Commissioner, which one of you is here representing this?
Mr. Scott is.
Scott, okay, Commissioner Scott.
Good morning, Councilman.
Can you cut on your mic, Commissioner?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and the council.
Can you pull it up to your, yeah,
This is
this is for the
our,
TV audience.
This is our large capacity truck contract that's associated with our residential resurfacing program. It's for the large capacity trucks that haul the asphalt to our resurfacing projects, and it comes with vehicle operators as well.
When you say come with vehicle operators, what do you mean?
Truck drivers.
Truck drivers?
Yes, sir.
So when you say, so our personnel will not be driving the trucks?
These particular trucks are large capacity triaxle trucks. We order them as needed through a vendor, and this allows us to go out to bid for our next contract.
Okay, so when these trucks have to be used, Commissioner, you mean, so you're saying that it'll be a driver accompanying with these trucks?
There'll be a truck and a driver based upon request and based upon operational need.
Okay. Now so our drivers, city drivers, won't be part of this operation.
Mr. Chairman, no, these trucks are much larger than our city fleet. These are the trucks that carry up to 14 tons of asphalt to on any particular load. So our fleet is not that large. We don't have that type of capacity.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to open this up to the committee. Any questions? Yeah. Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner, I see that we're using the street resurfacing budget to pay for these.
Mr. Chairman, yes, this is associated with the residential street resurfacing program.
Right.
That's funded through capital resources.
And so it's funded through capital?
That's correct.
So are these trucks, do we have the capacity to purchase these? Because I see another piece of legislation, we're purchasing trucks or equipment for more than half a million, but this is a 2.5 million over the course of a year?
Over the course of 3 years.
3 years?
Correct.
All right, and do we, Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner, do we have the capacity to purchase these trucks? And if we did, would we have the capacity to operate them?
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest to you, no, sir.
And why not?
These trucks are very large capacity trucks. Number one, I wouldn't have a place to put them. Number two, also, in association with our rest of our fleet. Number two, they require drivers that have almost over-the-road experience. in a lot of cases. And number three, the repair and maintenance of these trucks would be astronomical.
And then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, did we use any of these trucks this past year?
We use them through our residential resurfacing program. They were used daily.
All right, and then so the residential street resurfacing initiative this year went slowly, right? And I know that it was due to a lot of contract issues with ADAs and all that other stuff. Does this give us the capacity or the ability to, when we start a street, be able to complete it in a more timely fashion?
Our goal, Mr. Chairman, and speaking with the director, is to make some changes to the program that will allow that to happen by getting our own ADA contract.
Okay, so the ability or lack thereof to have this, Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner, to have this piece of equipment was not part of the delay in getting some of the streets done
That's
this
correct.
year?
This was not a factor.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, is there any other questions from the committee? All right, Director, Commissioner, I'm sorry. So we're not, we're never going to buy this piece of equipment, right? We're going to lease this or rent this on an ongoing basis?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Okay, and the reason is because they're just too large and we don't,
They're too large, and we don't have the capacity to house them or to repair them or to provide the drivers for them.
okay. And they will be only rented during the paving season?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance number 351, 2025 is approved. Please sign on. Ordinance number 350, 2025, by council members Bishop and Griffin. This is a departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more standard and requirement contracts for the purchase, lease, or lease with options to purchase of various on-road vehicles, apparatus, and off-road equipment, cabs, bodies, and accessories, equipment, and other aftermarket items necessary to equip the vehicles authorized for their intended purposes, including vehicle rehabilitation, training, and inspection as needed for the Department of Public Works. All right, Commissioner.
To the chair, this is a piece of legislation that will allow us to purchase a number of rollers, asphalt rollers and trailers in conjunction with the resurfacing program that Streets does right now. These will be replacing some very old, outdated pieces of equipment that we have in place that are getting to the point where they're non-repairable due to parts availability.
Okay. All right, so, Commissioner Scott, you won't be involved with these pieces of equipment, or is these pieces of equipment for your department?
Mr. Chairman, you're correct. These are for the Division of Streets, and they're part of our street repair program and pothole program.
Okay, all right. And this will equip us for taking over the streets from MOCAP, correct? We can.
Mr. Chairman, let me make one correction. This is for our pothole repair crews.
Okay.
And our street general repair crews. This has nothing to do with resurfacing.
Okay, it has nothing to do with resurfacing. Okay, Commissioner, is that it?
That's
All right.
it.
Is there any questions from the committee? Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner, just if you could educate us on the difference between a pothole roller and an asphalt roller.
Mr. Chairman, they're both one and the same. One is just, some are just larger than others. The ones for resurfacing are very large, heavy rollers for maximum compaction. These are for potholes, and they're more versatile. They're for potholes and small utility cuts, and they give us the versatility to move quickly and to transport them quickly, and they're not as heavy as the asphalt rollers for resurfacing. In addition, these rollers will be replacing rollers that are we've had for over 20, 25 years that are obsolete. And so it's time to buy some new stuff. The size? Yes. The size is the big issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Councilman Casey. Is there any other questions from the committee? All right, I want to make a correction. I said ordinance number 1350, 2025. So this is ordinance number 1350, 2025. All right, is there any other questions on ordinance number 1350, 2025?
No,
Say-
but, oh, sorry, Chairman, I have a miscellaneous for the commissioner before he leaves.
Okay, all right, we'll take the miscellaneous. Is there any other questions on 1350? Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 1350, 2025 is approved. All right, Councilwoman Marr.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that we're sending those pothole rollers to the Fleet Avenue Bridge, and at the Bullnose, we're going to take care of the Bullnose, right, Commissioner?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Right.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. All right, Commissioner, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you see the director before I do, could you tell him that I need to talk to him, please? Okay. All right, can we have up community development? Somebody here for community development? I thought I saw the director walk in.
Yeah, she had another meeting, and so Jennifer and myself are going to handle this.
All right, come on. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. All right, ordinance number 1310, 2025. This is by Councilmember Spencer. This is an emergency ordinance requiring the director of the Department of Community Development and/or Director of Finance upon receipt of any voluntary payment in lieu by Heirloom Company to deposit such payments for the sole purpose of Herman Park renovations and site improvements. Okay, so Director, you want to brief us on this, or?
I'll take the first stab, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Through the chair to the committee. So this is community development or the director of finance this is requiring them to direct funds to this Herman Park project that will be in the future. This also ties in with the tax abatement. So there is a community development project that's already been tax abated, and it will be the first project that will be required to give a payment in lieu of affordable housing, and that's in the amount of $660,000. And so this is Councilwoman Spencer's piece, and she wants to make sure that those funds will be directed toward the Herman Park project renovation that's going to be undertaken in the future. It's in conceptual design phase.
Okay, so let me understand this. The Councilwoman Spencer has set aside $200,000 towards the project. Now, where is the $585,000? What is that?
That's a preliminary design estimate. So the work
Okay.
hasn't started yet. I mean, in the future, Director DeRosa's department will be bringing legislation for a public improvement project.
Okay.
Correct.
So this is really, it's about that project in the future, but it's making sure that these tax abatement required funds, the payment in lieu of affordable housing fund, will go towards that Herman Park project in the future when it's received.
Okay. All right, Director.
And then, Mr. Chairman, once that money is received, then Capital Projects would do public engagement, finalize the design, and move forward with that project. But the idea is to amass both her $200,000 and then this payment in lieu of for hopefully the majority of those park projects. If not, then we'll come to council for authorization to add to it.
Okay. All right, Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you so much, Chairman Bishop, for hearing this piece today. I want to begin with some appreciation first to our attorney, Jennifer Hine O'Leary, who drafted this piece, and then also to Director DeRosa and Director Hernandez, who did need to step out for fully vetting it under administrative review and working in collaboration towards what I hope will be Herman Park improvements when these funds are actually received. So I just really appreciate the collaboration that has gone into this piece. And I do want to add for members of the committee that this was meant to be a companion piece, if you will, to an ordinance that was heard a couple of weeks ago, 1307, which will rename the park as Judge Raymond L. Pianka Park at the time that park improvements are completed. So what we're trying to do with these two pieces of legislation is sort of anticipatory. These improvements will obviously occur beyond my tenure on council, so this is putting things in place where when funds are received and when park improvements can begin, at the conclusion of that process, we would have a renovated park, and at that point, the renaming would become official. So these are a bit anticipatory, but they're meant to go together.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just add too, there's a lot of momentum around this park. Western Reserve Land Conservancy has acquired a rail spur that goes into this park and is fundraising and doing community engagement around the improvement of that spur, and that's really related to the redevelopment of this park as well. So this is just another piece to make sure that this park gets renovated, which is what the community is really looking for.
So the park is something separate than this piece of legislation we're hearing to this morning.
Through the chairman, these dollars would be used to improve the park, but that park improvement wouldn't happen until this payment from the developer hits the city's account.
Okay. All right, is there any questions from the committee? Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my questions in no way, shape, or form are against the project at all. But can you explain to us what the heirloom is, what the tax abatement is, how much money is coming through? I mean, how much this is? I'm reading the legislation. I'm kind of understanding it, but can you explain what money it is? Because you keep saying tax abated money, right? So if you can, I mean, I understand the councilwoman has put 200,000 into NEF, but how much more are we looking at? And just explain this whole process and how this goes, because I've never heard of this before.
And there's a good reason for that through the chair of the councilman. So when we passed the updated tax abatement ordinance, do you remember there were the affordable housing requirements? And there's also an option that if you don't meet the affordable housing requirements, you can instead make a payment in lieu of affordable housing requirements. So my understanding is that this will be the first multifamily development project that is going to be paying the payment in lieu of. And that was done through community development. And so that amount, it's actually, it's according to a formula. They'll be paying $660,000 in a voluntary payment in lieu instead of providing affordable housing. And then that's going to go into a fund, and the tax abatement ordinance actually says that that will be set up by finance, and all expenditures from that fund will require legislative authority from City Council. So we have the authority to determine how those funds are spent, and Councilwoman Spencer is saying those funds will be spent on Herman Park project.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, to our attorney or the director, not used to having our attorney at the table. Let me see if, just so that I understand. So Heirloom is a developer?
Yes.
Okay, Heirloom is a developer.
Yes.
And instead of providing affordable housing, correct, they're making a payment in lieu of 600-some thousand, then that 600,000 is going toward Herman Park.
Correct.
I just want to make sure I'm correct in that.
And the Heirloom company is currently constructing this project. It's a residential multifamily project, and is right by Herman Park.
Right.
So it's at 640 Herman
Right.
Park.
Okay.
And so, Councilwoman Spencer is just directing
she's
the
making-
funds that haven't come into the city yet, but they will. They come in after the certificate of occupancy is issued.
Right. Now, for future knowledge, right, if this happens again in the future, is it the local council person who will have the authority, or does it the wherewithal to direct whatever those the future PILs would be? I mean, in other words, could that 600,000 come in? And again, this is just for educational purposes. That 600,000 could come in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be spent in that ward, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
I mean, the tax abatement legislation just says there will be a fund determined by finance,
Right.
and all expenditures shall require legislative authority from council.
Okay.
So it's pretty broad, it's just the council gets to say,
So in
approve
the
the
future, if something like this happens, and there's 600,000 that comes in, and Councilman Hairston wants, I don't know, a street repaved or a park redone in his ward, he could use PIL dollars, right, from a downtown project or a ward, whatever project, to use in his ward, correct?
I mean,
So it doesn't-
possibly.
I'm asking.
yeah, well,
Right.
and this is where Director Hernandez would probably be helpful to have at the table, because,
Right.
again, this is the first ever
This is the first time
PIL
we're doing
coming
this,
in.
right?
I'm not aware if the administration has any sort of policy or what they're trying to do with these funds. But the legislation does say that, you know, it requires legislative approval of council. So I'm sure there'll be instances as well where the administration wants to propose, you know, how
Oh,
to
we
spend
know
the
there will be.
PIL, but you would have to approve it, and
Right.
then, you know, in this case, council's doing it proactively.
Okay, and then to Joe, to our staff, can we see if we can get that question answered before finance, whether those PIL dollars for a project stay locally within that ward or within that community, or unless Councilman Hairston knows?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Harrison.
Thank you. So when we added this provision, we did it for a reason, so so that council has greater involvement in how the dollars are going to be spent. So yes, if the money, and what we did not do at that time is set up restrictions on it that had to be set to one particular area. Now, in conversations as this was going on, you know, most people will want the money to be used near the project that is happening. But it can be used, if it's the will of the body, to use the dollars anywhere across the city, should there be a need or a want to do so. So the ordinance that we passed did not require that. We just made sure that the body will have say-so in how the money is going to be spent. Administration can recommend, council has the authority to approve. We can recommend, and then we decide whether we want to approve whatever the recommendation is from the body. So we did not get that far to set restrictions on where, but more so left it broad enough for the body to decide how we want to use these dollars moving forward.
Okay. All right, and that clears a lot of it up, but this is the first time the city's doing anything like this, correct? And then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, do we know when these PIL dollars are anticipated?
Through the chairman, the councilman, it is when the certificate of occupancy is issued, but do we know when that might be? Councilman?
Well,
Councilwoman.
I know that the project is underway, right? It's being built currently. It'll just depend on when the project ends, is completed, and when Building and Housing issues the certificate of occupancy. At that point is when they're required to make the payment.
And
Do you have more to add about
And then,
the nature of the project?
my last question, Mr. Chairman, to the director is, will that certificate of occupancy be issued without them making the PIL? And, or is it one lump payment, or can they make payments over time? Do we know?
It's- I believe it's a lump payment.
Okay. Do you know, Councilwoman?
Thank you. Through the chair, my understanding of the way our tax abatement law was written is that it's a lump sum payment due at the time of certificate of occupancy.
Okay, all right. So they won't get their certificate of occupancy unless the city receives the PIL?
I think that vigilance would be, so this is one of the items I'll be briefing the future incoming council member on, because since it's the first time this has happened, I think it's worth having some vigilance and making sure that that coordination occurs when the time comes. Yeah.
So can we get that question answered for the councilman at some point? Now, who can answer that question?
Through the chair, Director of Community Development, but there is a letter from Community Development that requires them to pay the PIL, and the
Correct.
PIL is required by ordinance. So
Okay.
they can't just not pay the PIL.
Okay.
And it does say in the letter that the PIL is due upon issuance of the certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
So,
All right, so can we get that question answered from the Director of Community Development? Okay. Councilman Casey, are you done?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Spencer?
Thank you. And just to add to that, thank you for that reminder, Jen. this is required for them to get tax abatement. So it sort of is like it's all interrelated. So they need tax abatement for this project to work. They cannot get the abatement until they make the PIL. So I think there are safeguards in place, if you will, or guardrails to ensure that the payment is made. But I still think it's important for members of this body to monitor. But there should be guardrails in place.
All right, thank you. All right, is there any other questions on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Councilman Harrison.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Through the chair to the director and the our attorney, the Heirloom Company, have they done other projects in the city of Cleveland, or is this their first one? Councilwoman?
Through the chair, I don't know. You mean whether Heirloom Company has ever done another project?
I think the councilwoman.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman Hairston. This is the first time this developer has done a project under this entity name. However, they developed a project on Detroit Avenue in the 5400 block called the Wellion, which was completed several years ago. So that project was completed, then they were looking for their next project in the area, and this was the site that they selected. It was very interesting because they are not requesting a TIF, so they opted to not go forward with a TIF. However, due to them being subject to the new tax abatement law, and I do want to thank you for your leadership in getting that done with more council oversight, which brings us to this moment. They opted not to create the affordable units, and instead, that's why they have to make this payment. So I think it was very valuable the way we, as a body, set up that new tax abatement structure.
Sure. Thank you. I'm curious why they chose not to do affordable units. What was the reason for that?
Well, I think this might have been part of the risk when we as policymakers were working on a law and trying to kind of peer into that crystal ball of how developers might behave. And by the way, just a quick pin, it's my understanding that we have to reauthorize tax abatement again in a couple of years, so there'll be opportunities to further improve it if the body deems that important. But we didn't know if developers would choose this payment in lieu option or whether they would go with the affordable unit option. And I haven't spoken with the developer in depth about it, but they must have determined that from a cash flow basis, this was what their preference was.
Sure. No, I appreciate that through the chair to Councilwoman Spencer. You know, the intent was to in certain neighborhoods to really enhance the number of affordable units. We did not want to, the intent was not to have people pay the payment in lieu, but really to push them to provide affordable units in particular areas of the city, which is why we had the penalties as they are, the percentages as they are, and laid out the things that we ultimately passed to the tax abatement. So I was just wondering why they chose not to do affordable units in this neighborhood where the affordable units are really needed versus the money for a park where their occupants are going to enjoy the park as well. So I just, just was curious why they decided not to provide the affordable units, which would have had a greater impact, for the community than the investments here at the park, because there's other ways that, the park renovation could have taken place. But finally, just my thoughts and curious why they chose that. And going back through the chair to Councilwoman Spencer, the project they first did, was that like was that market rate? Was that commercial and residential? Was that just residential? What type of project was that?
Fully market rate, mixed use, commercial and residential, and
Okay.
they would have benefited from our previous tax abatement law, which would have given them the most generous abatement possible to do that project.
Thank you. And lastly, they said they decided not to go for a TIF. Is it because of the same reason they decided to pay the payment in lieu? They just didn't want to have to deal with the restrictions or the requirements, or what?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am not sure how those internal discussions went for them and how the numbers ended up working for them.
Gotcha.
I do want to add, though, that interestingly, Herman Park, under the city's old capital improvement plan, was meant to be improved. When I joined council 5 years ago, former Councilman Zone said, this, we got to get this done. This community's been waiting for years for this park improvement, and it hasn't happened. And he said, it's on the plan, it's going to happen. And then, as we all recall, the administration moved forward with a new Parks and Recreation planning process, and Herman Park is not. But for this legislation, I don't believe Herman Park renovations would happen for a decade or more, because it is not, under the new Parks and Rec criteria, it's not included. So we would not have a basis for it to be included as part of the capital improvement plan.
Sure. No, and I thank you for that through the chair, and I'll end with this. I think that's been the benefit of having our NEF dollars, to make investments like in parks, where it does not on the administration's top priority list, or, with our downtown TIF, shore to quarter shore, part of those dollars to be used for parks and park enhancements across the city, where this body is going to have to make determination where those dollars are going to be spent. So, I'm just thinking about all the other pieces and parts that are moving that this body has worked on for years, that will ultimately push the benefits to the communities and where we all represent. So, I was just curious about why they chose not to do the affordable units, where that, to me, and just from your years of advocacy of affordable units, that would have been the best, the greatest need for that community at this moment. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harrison. All right, is there any other questions on ordinance number 1310, 2025? All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance number 1310, 2025 is approved. Please sign it. All right, last but not least, ordinance number 1073, 2025. Thank you, Attorney. By council members Bishop and Harrison and Griffin, is a departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor and the commissioner of purchases and supplies to sell certain city-owned property no longer needed for the city's public use located at the terminus of Byrne Avenue to Greg Schindale for the purposes of consolidating with existing land to be used for green space and garden development. All right, who is here representing this piece?
Mr. Chairman, so Commissioner DeGennaro is here. She's going to speak to this piece. It's for the sale of surplus property that's under the jurisdiction of the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects.
Okay, Commissioner.
Thank you. Good morning. So the legislation would authorize the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects to sell a remnant piece of property that was left over from the construction of the Jennings Freeway. It was acquired by the city in connection with that project. It's a very narrow piece of property, about 26 feet by 95 feet. It's like a 20th of an acre, just a little sliver. And it's located in between two parcels that are owned by the purchaser, Mr. Greg Snadel. This is in the Old Brooklyn neighborhood, north of Spring and west of Jennings, kind of where Jennings Road crosses over Jennings Freeway. And so Mr. Snadel owns 3 parcels that are adjacent, and this little sliver parcel is right in the middle. So he wants to acquire it. He's going to use it for gardens and green space. He's sent me pictures of his gardens. They're absolutely a slice of heaven. Pollinator gardens. He's got native plantings, really, really beautiful setting, and he's a good steward of the land. He's going to purchase the property for a appraised value of $500, and I think that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner, the guy who's purchased the properties, you say he owned three parcels?
Correct.
Has he gotten any one of those parcels through the city?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, because the city has historically turned folks down once they sold them one parcel, correct? Am I correct in that?
Oh, I can jump in on
Hold on, just a minute, Councilwoman. So the city has turned folks down. I know the city has turned folks down that has sold parcels to individuals before. When they come back for the next parcel, they've turned them down. So I want the Councilwoman Mara, I want her to speak to if this guy has acquired parcels from the city.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm looking up the transfer records right now, but even if it does come from the city, I want to distinguish a couple of things. In terms of the multiple acquisition rule, that's for side lots, not for properties that are going to be purchased at what's essentially fair market value. So this isn't a side lot acquisition. This is not a buildable parcel in the way that a side lot would be. The last thing I'd note is that actually community development just changed that rule. So you can acquire multiple parcels with the councilperson and CD's permission. But again, I am happy to check this, but this is not a buildable parcel. It's not usable for anything other than sort of extending the green space. And this is sort of a public green space that Mr. Schnadel maintains, and that is really beloved in Old Brooklyn. And actually, it looks like he purchased the lot on the far side from the state of Ohio in 2006 for more than fair market value. Looks like $20,000 to get that.
Okay. All right, Commissioner, is any other, you want to make any other comments on this piece?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, is there any questions from the committee?
I have one question.
Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to Commissioner. Who's been maintaining this parcel?
I don't know.
So the city hasn't been cutting it.
Well, it's heavily wooded, so in terms of maintenance, I can't imagine that much has been required. Mr. Schnadel, as I mentioned, has been a good steward of his own properties, the properties to the east. His primary residence abuts West 10th Place, and he purchased the property from apparently a relative back in 1990, and so he's been there for a very long time. I can't speak specifically to the maintenance on this parcel, but I would assume that he's been kind of looking after it.
Okay. And then, does the city have any type of standard for individuals who've been maintaining city-owned property? Like, in this case here, right, this guy has probably been maintaining it for, so my question is, why are we selling it to him? Why don't we just give it to him? He's been maintaining it for years. The city isn't, what's the city going to do with the $500? He's put more than $500 into maintenance of the property, just probably by cutting it alone for the last, since the Jennings Freeway has been, there. Why are we selling it to him?
Through the chair to Councilman Casey, we are constrained by our codified ordinances as well as state law that requires that the city can't give away taxpayer-owned assets below fair market value. So we did have to sell it to him at fair market value. I understand your concern, and there are instances where people do maintain city property, but technically, they're not really supposed to. It's kind of.
And Mr. Chairman, to the commissioners, I understand that, right? But let me give you an example, right? If I had a lot next door to me that was city-owned, right, I'm going to be able to maintain it better myself than the city would. So I'm just going to mow it because I don't feel like looking at the way that the city would maintain its vacant property. And I do that for 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And then one day I decide, well, geez, maybe I should just, no one's ever going to do anything with this property. It's not buildable or whatever. I want it, right? I've been maintaining it. Then I put in for that. And then all of a sudden the city wants to charge me, whatever, $500, $1,000 for this piece of property that they've never maintained, that I've maintained. Isn't there something on the books that where people who maintain side lots or parcels like this, that we can't just say, if we're selling it, if we didn't if he didn't maintain it, the city would be spending a heck of a lot more money than $500. Sometimes I think we just need to be good stewards, right? And we need to be good neighbors as well to people who've been maintaining our property.
I understand through the chair your concern, but I guess, and it makes sense what you're saying, but our preference would be if you've got property next door to you that's not being maintained by the city, the right thing to do is call the city, notify the city. The city, I think, is usually pretty responsive.
Obviously, Commissioner, through the chairman, you've never lived next door to a vacant lot.
I actually do. And the,
In the city?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And have you ever cut it?
I've never cut it, but we've contacted the city, and the city has been very responsive.
Well, maybe
And
it's because you're in the administration.
Well, I've not been the one to call the city. Let me be clear. My neighbors
Right. All
have.
right.
I just
So,
am aware of that.
Then
but-
my last question is, Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner, suppose he didn't put in for this and he just built his garden on it. Then what?
Well, through the chair, if your question is, can a private individual claim city-owned property through like an adverse possession kind of action, the answer is no, because the city is immune from those sorts of legal actions.
Right.
So no, unfortunately,
Right, but I mean, suppose he did. What, we going to throw him off it? We're going to tell him to remove his garden? We're never going to maintain the property. I'm just trying to come up with a reason that, I mean, this guy's been handling this property for probably years and years, and now he wants to do the right thing and make it part of his property.
Right.
And we're going to say, okay, and $500 is cheap. I mean, I've seen some other more expensive ones come through the pike.
through the chair, you're correct, Councilman Casey. I would say there's no hard and fast rule. I'm just suggesting that if an individual is interested in acquiring city property, that they go through the right channels. Because if you just kind of try to claim land, we are going to require that Mr. Snadel consolidate, hire a surveyor, and prepare a consolidation plat to consolidate all of his parcels. If you were to attempt to do that and you kind of just took over the property and didn't go through the proper channels to have it titled to you, then you would not be able to consolidate it and eventually sell it. So there's a benefit to the owner in going through these proper channels that we have in place to transfer city property.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, thank you, Councilman Casey. Commissioner, what Councilman Casey narrated happens in my ward all the time. And I'm sure it happens in other folks' ward all the time, where folks take care of city property because the city is just inadequate to their standards. And I'm not saying this to everybody's standard, but to their standards. They just want the property taken care of in a certain manner. So anyway, what he's narrating happens in my ward all the time.
Chairman,
All right,
could I have a quick point?
Councilwoman Marr?
Thank you. I'll just encourage everyone, if we were to move to a mow-to-own model, I've been advocating for that for the last 3 years. That would have to go through community development for the city land bank lots. This parcel is not in the city land bank in the same way that most side yards or things that would be qualified for mow-to-own is. So I would just say there's other cities like Akron have achieved mow-to-own very easily. It's something that I think we should absolutely look at, and community development and the city land bank is where to go for that.
Mr. Chairman, and if I could just say that the distinction between land bank and non-land bank is important. We have a project in Councilman Harsh's ward where neighbors had put fencing on a city park, and we were renovating that park, so we had to send letters to the homeowners to explain that their fence was on the city park, and we had those fences removed when the new fence was put up on the city park, push their property, if you will, back to where their property line was. And so that's a real distinction to think about between land bank versus non-land bank parcels.
All right, Director, can you brief us on what goes into the land bank and what the city holds as their property outside
Yes.
of the land bank? What's the qualifications?
So land bank properties are because of tax foreclosures. So when a property owner doesn't pay their taxes, or if there are other assessments on the property that are not paid, then it goes through a foreclosure process whereby if it's vacant land, then the city has the ability to take those into our land bank. If there's a structure on it, then the city, while it has that ability, chooses not to take structures into our land bank. So we have vacant land in our land bank all through the tax foreclosure process. The county land bank typically takes parcels with structures on them.
Okay. All right, is there any other questions on ordinance number
Yes.
1073? Councilman Harrison.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, to the Commissioner and Director. So the state law that the administration typically recites of not being able to reduce the price of a city parcel of land that we sell. What is that state law? Can you get that to us so that our folks can review that? And secondly, does the state law have a provision that allows for the city, for whatever reason, to take a reduced dollar amount that's below fair market value for a particular piece of property? Through the chair.
Through the chair to Councilman Hairston, I do not have the revised code section with me, but we can provide that information to you. I'm not aware of a provision that allows for a below fair market value transfer, but there may be instances, where that might be considered. It really just, our rule is that surplus property belongs to the taxpayers. We have a duty to sell that property at fair market value, and that's basically the rule.
Okay, so go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, the Councilman, again, just to the distinction between land bank parcels and non-land bank, we really don't have that much surplus property that's not in the land bank.
Right.
There are some parcels, but generally speaking, we have a public use on the non-land bank parcels. There's a few, this would be considered kind of a scrap that, the homeowner, it's important to them, but it's sort of a, it's just an unused remnant. So we don't have that many cases where we have these parcels to sell.
Sure. Through the chairs to the director and commissioner. So what I'm hearing is that the state law says it, but then you all still have you still, like you just said, there's some cases where you will allow the property out the door under fair market value. Correct?
Through the chair to Councilman Hairston, I am not aware of a specific instance where we've done that. I'm just stating that there, with property, every property is unique. And there may be a set of circumstances wherein, the city, it would be reasonable for the city to consider other factors in transferring property. But to the director's point, there's not a lot of surplus land that's not spoken for in terms of city-owned surplus land. With the land bank, the rules are separate. So I'm not sure, I can't speak for the land bank. I don't know if they still do the flat fee transfer or if parcels are appraised. I don't know if it's possible that in a residential setting, there might be a flat fee, there might be a less than fair market value transfer. With commercial, probably not. But that's really, if I understand your concerns, but really most of the extra, unused land is in the land bank, so a different set of rules would apply.
No, I hear you. So what I'm hearing is that there's the state law is recited, but you can do things other than what the state law that you says, because if there are a set of circumstances that can be considered, that means there's some provision somewhere. If the law says you cannot, regardless of what the circumstances are, right? So if there's no, there has to be a provision through the chair to the administration, a provision that allows you to consider other set of circumstances that would allow for a property to be considered below the fair market value, right? So in my question about is there a provision or some sort of something there that allows you to do that. The fact that your response is that, it says that two things. Either it has to be some sort of provision that allows you to review other set of circumstances to allow for property to be sold at a lower value than the market rate value, or that there is the state law says that the city municipality can either follow our law, or that they can develop their own policy set forth that does not conflict the state law. And so my thought is, so there must be either one of the two things. So there's a policy that the city, through the chair to the team, I'm almost done, through the team that your department or division of real estate has created, written policy that says that you all can consider certain circumstances, or is that the prerogative of the commissioner or director or the mayor to make those decisions? Through the chair.
Through the chair to Councilman Hairston. Let me give you an example. Sometimes we will transfer property for $1 to Metro Parks, for example. It's $1 and other valuable consideration. In that instance, Metro Parks is taking over property and they're maintaining it. So that's the set of circumstances that I'm alluding to.
Providing something to the residents.
Right, providing a value to the other valuable consideration to the city that kind of accounts for, that makes up the fair market value. So hopefully that example clarifies.
So yeah, through the chair, and I won't belabor this point, but so the state law says that other valuable considerations can be taken into consideration.
I don't
Or is that a
have the
policy?
revised code provision in front of me, but why not, let's look at
Sure.
it and we'll
I guess I'm
answer
just
your
looking
question
for
more
the director
intelligently.
to show the council in writing everything that you just gave us, where that applies, whether it's through state law, whether it's through internal policy that the administration has created, or where that exists. So that way, when you give us the answer, right, just like if we give you an answer and you just say, okay, well, show us where that exists, right? Just wanted to have that to show where that exists, because I know I don't deal directly with your land a lot, just in my chairmanship, but we deal directly with the land bank per se. That there is the land bank, if you are developing affordable housing, right? If it's not market rate or if it's some sort of lavish development, that the department will reduce the price of the land, right, to either little or nothing, because of the type of project or development that you are building on the site. For example, there's been several projects that we've been a part of, not only in Ward 10 but outside of Ward 10, that there've been truly deep affordable units that are developed, or affordable projects that are happening in the lots have been transferred to little or nothing, right? And I know I know how that operates. But this other land that we have here in the city, what policy are you following? Is it a prerogative of the department? Is it state law? Is it internal policy? What? So we can go back to that. You can get all that information together for us and have that over to us, so we can have that. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Mr. Chairman, happy to provide that information. We do have codified ordinances that direct us. We do have a written policy that may have been updated, but I know that it goes back 12, 13 years, a written policy of how we proceed with our real estate transactions, because for us, we understand that to the public, it's a little bit confusing that we have different rules than land bank. So we found it to be essential to have written policy that we could send to everybody, so that they knew that we were treating them the same as anybody else in our world, versus people that call to say, hey, but I could get a land bank side lot for $200. Why can't I get this for $200?
100%. So
we have written policy that's based upon the codified ordinances. And just to go to Commissioner's comment about the Metro Parks, the difference there is that that's a true public benefit to all of the public. So if they're putting in a trail, or if they're using that land for a public park, versus say this particular resident who might say, well, hey, I have this flower garden and it's available to all the neighbors. That's a different, yeah, it does. Yeah, exactly. They come and smell my flowers. That's just a different animal, and it's really not the same as when there's a big public purpose. So
Through the
just sad
chair,
to see.
Understood.
Not that he asked for that, but I'm just.
No, you're
I'm
good.
just
No,
outlining it,
what I'm
yeah.
saying, you know, because this is a conversation as you see, we all typically have. And, you know, amongst all the other things that we've had to deal with over the years, this is just one we have not been able to dig into. And so thought we would, since it came up, we would ask these questions, right? And so it seems like, you know, once you get that information, this body will have a decision whether they want to amend the codified ordinances or draft ordinances or resolutions that directs administration to signal as a policy directive, right? Then that's what they would need to do. So I'll wait for that information. Well, we'll wait for that and get it over to Mr. Titra, and then we all, and the chairman, then we can review that. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harrison. You bring up a lot of good points. Thank you for your leadership and your insight. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 1073? Councilman
Can I
Brian
just
Casey.
ask one question, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner?
Sure.
Other valued consideration, who sets that standard?
Through the chair, that's an interesting question. So other valuable consideration is kind of a standard real estate term. You'll often see in a deed a reference to that. I don't have an answer for you. Again, I think it would be something that would have to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, but is that something, Mr. Chairman of the Commissioner, is that something the administration considers? Is it something that's in state law? Is it something that somebody's just sitting around going, yes, this could be considered value, or this isn't considered value?
Through the chair, the administration has considered that. I'll give you another example. We lease land to Playhouse Square, and we actually made a checklist of everything that they are doing to maintain this land for the benefit of the public. So we looked at that, the sum of those parts, and asked ourselves, is this other valuable consideration?
Okay.
And the answer was yes in that instance.
Okay.
And through the chairman of the council, not just maintain it, but they actually constructed the improvements that were in it at their
Okay,
cost.
yeah, I was just, you know.
And then I would just say that, you know, based upon the codifieds, we look at our responsibility, division of real estate, is to sell property at fair market value. Community development has the, you know, the charge to support supportive housing. So if somebody wants to build supportive housing on a piece of land that the general fund owns, our role is to sell it at fair market value. Their role is to provide a subsidy through their programs. The same with Department of Economic Development. Our role is to sell at fair market value. Their role is to provide a subsidy that could be used for that fair market value purchase.
I was just wondering. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Councilman Casey. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 1073? All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance 1073, 2025 is approved. Please sign it. All right, is there any other miscellaneous? All right, seeing no further questions, I hereby adjourn the Municipal Services and Properties Committee to the next call of the chair.